All right, welcome back to the Bluegrass. It's a beautiful July afternoon. It is 85 degrees and we're going to train 3 retriever puppies in this heat so you guys can kind of get an idea of how different retriever puppies handle summer weather. Okay, the first retriever puppy that we'll be training is Ice. Ice is about an 18-week-old Chesapeake Bay Retriever. Chesapeake Bay Retrievers are very hardy dogs, very cold resistant dogs. They do super well in like cold, choppy water because they're real strong, right? Now here's the problem when you have a really strong, cold resistant dog is that's a hard charging animal that is really well insulated. Well, being hard charging and well insulated on an 85-degree day can work against that type of dog. Okay, because when Ice comes out here, he gets to kind of going and like it takes him a little while or a few experiences to figure out how hard he can go when it's sunny versus when it's shady versus when it's raining. Okay, and so if you're going to get a cold tolerant breed, it's especially important to get them out in the summertime and make sure that they learn to self-regulate in the heat. Okay, a lot of times, and you'll hear people, you know, like Chicken Little in it, like talking about the skies falling all the time with dogs that suffer from heat stroke and stuff. Well, the reality is that most of those dogs that have problems with heat strokes, it's not because they maybe are a cold tolerant dog that's exercising too much, or they're a high drive dog that's just exercising too much. A lot of times those dogs just didn't get a lot of heat exposure when they were puppies and they never learned to properly self-regulate, right? So if you keep a dog in an air conditioner too much and you don't do a lot of stuff with them when they're puppies, then they really don't know what it's like to get too hot. And so when you first go to the dog park or you first go do some retriever training with them or something, they have no idea when to settle down and find a shady spot or when to go get in the water trough. Okay. That's especially true with a real hard charging dog like Ice, because Ice is bred to be a retriever, right? And he's, for his age, I mean, he's a pretty strong retriever, okay? But I want to really be careful with my retrieving at this age because not only can, like, I encourage him to get a little bit too excited. See how when I brought the retrieving item out, you see how he kind of lost focus there? Okay, well, think about that in terms of his heat regulation, right? If he loses focus because he's so excited about the retrieving item that he doesn't stop to think that he needs to go find a shady spot for a minute or he needs to go get in the pool for a minute, well, then he could have some problems, right? And so you as the trainer of a cold weather tolerant dog, you have to think in terms of not just long-term management, but like actually teaching them how to control themselves in the face of things that excite them in the summer weather, okay? And here's a weird thing. It doesn't even have to be like real summer weather. Like today it's 85 degrees, which is pretty warm, but I'm talking about even 75 or 80 degree weather for a dog that's kept in the house all the time, kept in an air conditioner all the time, is not used to that wide temperature variance. If you take them out and you fetch with them a little too much, or you run them too much on the bike, or you let them play with other dogs that are more well conditioned to the heat, sometimes they can, you know, they can have little problems. It's nothing that can't be managed, and I'm not telling you that you can't have this kind of dog if you live in a hot climate, but I am telling you that there's probably better choices, okay? So as far as retrievers go, you guys know that I'm a lab guy, so I think all dogs want to be labs and all labs want to be black. But a good Chesapeake Bay Retriever is okay. I always kind of say if you want a dog that's almost as good as a lab and liable to bite your neighbor, well, you know, get you a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. But they are hardy workers, you know, they're real strong dogs and they do really well in the cold weather. They're not the best. They're not the best in the hot weather, and sometimes they will overdo it, but they're pretty awesome. Now we'll go from working this dog I'll go in and get a little bit more heat tolerant dog, a golden retriever, and we'll let him come out and do some stuff. And then you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. There's a German Shepherd, there's a Schnauzer. The Schnauzer kind of only comes out and follows me around if the sun is in. And you should be able to tell by the way the camera looks between when the sun is shining directly on us and when the clouds have covered the sun, okay? So like right now, it got shady all of a sudden. And like, look at this dog's demeanor. His ears are up, tail's up, his little tail stubs up. Here comes another dog into the, look at this bruiser, right? Into this into the camera angle, you know. But as soon as that sun pops back out, they're all going to disappear. All right, up, very nice. Wait, good boy. Ice, he can do lots of work as long as the sun is not directly on him. Where I have to watch Ice is sometimes he wants to do a little bit too much. Good. And the too much that he wants to do is usually related to the retrieving item. Okay, so now this is really good with these Chessies. The good ones, man, they're good fetchers, right? Okay, but watch when I bring this retrieving item out, he starts to get real excited. He'll start to pull on the leash, and you might notice that he kind of gets excited enough so that he loses a little bit of like his proprioception. He'll lose a little bit of his ability to focus on where he's placing his feet, on what he's doing in relation to the course. You see, I gave him his retrieving item and he started to take off. Watch out, Max. That bruiser will just take it away from him. Good boy. So what we do, when we know we have a super high drive dog that's going to have a little hard time self-regulating, we expose them to the heat a lot, we expose them to a lot of other dogs, and we expose them to the things that get them excited, like these retrieving items, early, so that they learn how to maintain focus and self-regulate even when like there's something cool going on from their perspective. Now this also, because these Chessies can be a little bit possessive of, oh my gosh, up, of their retrieving items, and are a little bit prone to, dog fights as compared to come on, you can do it, nerd. As compared to a lab. I spend a lot of time teaching them to carry his retrieving items around and deliver to my hand around other dogs. You see what I'm saying? That's really important, I think, if you have a Chessie, because sometimes they're just a little bit conflict prone. So I really think you need to take and spend a little extra effort towards like socializing them to retrieving around other dogs. Very nice. So good boy. Oh my gosh. Good dog. Ice is doing a good job of staying focused even with these other dogs out here. Very good. Very good boy. Very nice. Good boy. Let's go. Sit. Good boy. You might say, Stonnie, why are you just handing him the retrieving item and having him carry? It's a concept called pattern overlayment. So for me, I know that a dog like Ice is going to have plenty of desire to retrieve, and I want to make sure that his desire to retrieve matures at the same rate that his obedience matures. So I like to incorporate just calmly holding a retrieving item into other patterns where he's taught to be calm, like doing our exercise small challenges course. And I find that what that does is that takes care of the delivery. Oh my gosh, that takes care of, come on this way, of the delivery to hand. Good, which helps me avoid having to do much in the way of compulsive work with them related to retrieving later. Okay, now when you're doing this, you can get really frustrated because at this age, when you're working on two separate things at once, like you're working on some basic obedience and you're working on something boring, like just holding something in your mouth and carrying it, sometimes the dog's going to spit it out. That's not a failure, guys. That's where you're reminding the dog that the essence of retrieving is just picking something up and handing it to you. This dog, I can throw this retrieving item all day, and we're playing it like a game. And the problem with that is that I'm not getting any, I'm not making the point to him that sometimes things have to be retrieved, even if he's tired, or even if he's like not in the mood for it, or even if it's not that exciting, okay? And traditionally you used a force fetch to do that. What I do is I just incorporate holding and carrying into my obedience routines, and I find that it does a pretty decent job of giving me a reliable hold and carry and delivery without having to do a formal force fetch. Very nice. Very good. Okay, let's go. Now this is really, really important with the Chessie. Again, talking about a dog that has a kind of a bad reputation of snapping at vets and vet techs. So we want to make sure we go ears, eyes, teeth, spine, privates, belly, chest, joints and toes a couple of times in every obedience session. Okay, very nice. Now we're just going to let Ice hang around. Probably what you'll see is he'll follow us around some, but the more that the sun stays out, he's probably going to go find him a shady spot. I'm going to go in and get a golden retriever, and we'll look at a dog that's a little more heat tolerant from my perspective. I went in and got Walter. Walter is a little bit older than Ice. Walter is about 6 months old, cameraman, is that right? Okay, now, so earlier I said I was going to go in and get a dog that was slightly more heat tolerant than Ice. Okay, and this is a golden retriever. I do want to make the point that not all golden retrievers are created equally. Okay, you have golden retrievers that are really on the field side of things, and you have golden retrievers that are really on the show side of things. But as a general rule, I know you golden retriever people are going to get on to me here, but as a general rule, I find that these golden retrievers that have a little bit more pigment and are a little bit more rangy do better in the heat. Okay, they most certainly do better in the heat than these Chessies, and they do better in the heat than my black Labrador Retrievers. That's one point everybody always tries to bring up in my videos, just because, you know, everybody knows I'm a black lab guy, and they're like, "Oh, Stoney, those black labs get too hot in Texas. We like the yellow ones," you know. Okay, well, listen, I don't live in Texas. But anyway, so Walter is a very good dog. He's a less of a hard charger than Ice, but he's very pattern cognizant, and he's very easy to fool with. Okay, for a golden retriever, I would put him at the high end of the energy expenditure scale, kind of the high, well, not the high end, but a little bit more towards the high end of the energy expenditure scale. He's got a pretty like high endurance level, and he has like a pretty quick recharge rate. So he likes to come out, he likes to exercise, he likes all the people and all the other dogs, and he will spend a lot of energy in a short period of time. He's already been doing lots of playing today, but he was able to take a short nap and then come back out here and do another trip on the course. Okay, so I like golden retrievers okay, right? Again, like a Chessie, he's not quite as good as a lab. Kind of how I think of golden retrievers. There's awesome dogs, not quite as good as a lab from my perspective, but we have a lot of them that stay with us, and they all do very well. Very nice. One thing that I really like about the golden retrievers is even if they start off kind of on the, you know, like Walter did, on the over exuberant when you have company, on the little bit too mouthy with children stage, right? It doesn't take much at all in the way of consistent obedience training to get them lined out. Stay. If you would have met Walter when he first came here, you would have thought, man, this is an incorrigible dog. He's going to be really hard to fool with, right? But that is generally not my experience with golden retrievers. My experience is they get along really well with all the other dogs, and they get along well with all the people that come here, and they like to eat, and they like attention, and they generally have pretty resilient temperaments. Sometimes they get a little too excited though. Okay, so most of the problems that we see out of golden retrievers result from their youthful exuberance. Okay, and that is 100% true for Walter. About the only things that he does that are aggravating kind of revolve around him just being too happy, too outgoing, wanting to be the center of attention, and wanting to party a little too much. Okay, now the neat thing about a dog that's like that, we can mitigate pretty much all of those problem areas simply by getting them out and doing some exercise with them during the day. And on a hot day like today, it doesn't take very many minutes at all to get them to calm completely down and go inside and lay down by the air conditioner vent and chill out. Okay, so my experience with a golden retriever, if you'll do some basic obedience, some basic socialization, you can very easily take them out and manage all of their problems related to youthful exuberance with just a moderate amount of exercise. Very nice. Okay. The neat thing about them is that they can exercise in a wide variety of physical conditions. Okay. They're relatively heat tolerant and they're relatively cold tolerant. Now, you could in no way put this dog in the same kind of cold waters that you could put that Chesapeake Bay Retriever. Okay, they're completely different. I mean, in terms of how they handle the cold. But when it's winter time, you can go back and watch hundreds of videos out here of lots and lots of golden retrievers getting out, having a good time in the snow, playing and carrying on, right? But they do not do well like a Chessie. If it's winter time and I have a Chessie here, or I have an English style lab that's really well insulated, it's really hard to get them to come inside. Come on, nerds. Very nice. Up. Good boy. Now, another neat thing about golden retrievers that I really like is they are super pattern cognizant, right? So just as an example, watch, we'll continue to walk this course, and I'll give Ice and Barney, the schnauzer, if he comes around, some more treats, and I won't give them to Walter, okay? And that pretty much holds true when I'm training golden retrievers, is that they learn patterns so quickly that you can really stretch out your reinforcement points. So food work protocols work exceptionally well with them, and you don't need much force to train a golden retriever. That's what I really like about them. They get to, you know, when I'm working with golden retrievers, if I have a lot of golden retrievers here, I know it's gonna be a nice day, because I'm not gonna have to fuss. I'm not gonna have to fuss and worry about them, you know, running off and getting stuff that they're not supposed to get. I'm not gonna have to worry about them, come on nerd, being too rough with the other dogs. They're just pretty much gonna chill as long as you give them some attention. Take them on a bike ride or two. Now look here, I like that. I like that dog just hanging around looking at me. Very nice, good boy. Oh my gosh, Walter is a very good dog. Notice when I talk to Walter, oh my gosh, you can really see in his body, oh my gosh, that he's sensitive. Watch me change my tone. Sit. A lot of times you'll hear people talk about how smart a given breed of dog is, and it's very rarely true that one breed of dog is particularly smarter than another, but it's most certainly true that some breeds of dogs are much more handler sensitive than other dogs. So if you get a border collie or you get another herding dog that's bred to do a job in conjunction with a handler, well, of course, those dogs are going to be easier to influence. If you get a retriever who's bred to do a job in conjunction with a handler, it's going to be easier to influence. If you get a terrier who's been bred to sit down on the ground and go kill stuff, well, they're going to be a little bit harder to influence. Very nice. Okay, but golden retriever is pretty awesome. Decent summertime dog. A little bit better summertime dog than a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, I would say, from my perspective. Not quite as hard charging, definitely not as good a guard dog. All right, I'll get a Fox Red Lab, and then we'll finish out this video. Watch out, Moose. All right, so I went in and got Sawyer. Sawyer's about a 17-week-old Fox Red Labrador Retriever. Okay. These are real popular nowadays. Now again, you know, I think all dogs want to be labs, and of course I think all labs want to be black, but the people that like these Fox Red dogs, they really, really like them. And when I say they really like them, I mean they get tore up about them, so I can't say anything too mean about Sawyer, or else I'll get yelled at in the comment section. Okay, but I like Sawyer. He's a good boy. He's on the high end of the energy expenditure range. He's on the high end of the endurance range, and he's got the quickest recharge rate in the world. Like, he's only been here a few days, but when we go out back and go hiking, right, I try to do the dogs in groups when they first get here, because like they're not acclimated to the exercise schedule. You know, they're not acclimated to the cold or the heat or whatever season it is. And so this guy, being young, went for a hike, come back in, and as I, you know, I like letting everybody go, so get a snack and rest a little bit. And he just looks at me like, hey boss, ain't we going back out? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he went out with the big dogs, and every day since then, he's doing double duty on the outside time, right? Heat or no heat, he doesn't really care. And then, you know, that's where the people that like these Fox Reds, they say that they beat a good black lab, right? Is that they're a little bit more heat tolerant. Okay, I never seen that, you know, that fact, if we call it a fact, make up for the fact that, you know, they still all want to be black. But I'm not going to argue that point, because they are good dogs. Good, wait, very nice. We'll tell you something about these Fox Reds though. They're barky, right? Okay, like, and you can talk whatever you want to in the comment section, but you know that the Fox Reds are barky, right? If you own a dog kennel and you take care of Labrador Retrievers, every time you get one of these puppies in here, you know that, like, if things don't go their way, they're gonna have a go to pieces and start barking at you. And it takes quite a bit of work to get that out of them, right? So if you're watching this video thinking about getting dog and you go, wow, that Fox Red Lab looks awesome. Okay, be ready to have to take a little bit of extra time dealing with them being barky, and they have a tendency to go through very pronounced fear periods during the mid-adolescent stage, okay? Almost every time I get an email related to training a pubescent or immediately post-pubescent Fox Red Labrador Retriever, that's because all of a sudden they've got scared of stuff and they've started hackling up and barking and carrying on. Good. Very nice. Good boy. Good dog. Come on, up, up, up. But you can see all three of these dogs that we've worked have been pretty similar. The main difference being that some of them are going to be able to come out here and do this stuff more often when the sun's out, okay? The sun just came back out like really, really strong right now, and this dog's going to be able to get more repetitions than ice, okay? And that's just going to be the way it is. Let's go. Oh my gosh, very good dog. Up, up, up. You'll notice that with this dog, I went back to a little bit faster reinforcement schedule on my treats. That's partly because he's a little bit more impulsive than, say, Walter is. And it's also partly because, like, he's a little bit newer, so he hadn't had quite as much experience. Ice is following us around, so I'm going to say appreciate it. Easy. Up, up. Good. Wait. Very nice. Easy. We'll end with a little cursory physical exam here. Up, up, up. Okay, now we have a perfect comparison here. Chesapeake Bay Retriever is about 16, 17 weeks old. Fox Red Lab is about 16 or 17 weeks old. Get down so they can see them. Oh. And then here comes Walter, maybe almost 7-month-old golden retriever. So there you go, guys. 85 degrees, middle of July. The sun has kind of come in and out during the video. You'll notice a cloud just covered the sun up, and look what happened. Bam, dog shows up. Okay, so I hope that this video gives you a little bit of information. If you're thinking about getting a retriever puppy and you plan on training them in the summertime, because where you live, it's kind of always warm. All right, well, look, I look forward to hearing what you have to say, so post whatever comments you have in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys next week.